that I've read previously. It's Alchemized by SenLinYu, and I didn't do that by myself. I did that with a friend. That friend is Fern. Say hi, Fern.
My hello.
So we spent like, how long did it take you to read this book?
A week, more or less, a
Yeah,
little over.
yeah, same. So
I,
the
I
book,
actually can see on my Goodreads because I
oh,
know
true.
I started next after right after it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I think like 10 days more or less.
Yeah, I think around that too. I don't have my phone with me, but it has 1,000 pages on
You went
hardback.
faster for sure.
Oh, I did?
You
Yeah.
devour that thing, girl.
Yeah, that is true. It came out a day after I got my new Kindle or my new e-reader. It's not a Kindle.
Mm,
And I was like
nice.
thinking, should I like buy it? And I did. And as soon as that happened, I was every day, all day, just reading that book because it has hella pages. It's a long one. Okay,
Yeah.
first thing I'd like to ask Fern is why did you pick up the book?
Mm. Um, I guess it was more so because of the whole backstory of the book, I guess. I did read Manacled
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago, and I guess I was just interested in seeing like what would happen. I read Manacle more as like a curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was fine, but it's like too what's the word for it? So many awful things and like deep trauma and like
Mm-hmm.
sad.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, like it's not exactly the kind of stuff that I go for, but
Mm-hmm.
like I did appreciate some of it. Um, and then I wanted to see like what would come of trying to make this be so separate from the original um
Mm-hmm.
work that it's derived from,
Mm-hmm.
and because it felt almost impossible that like it could be achieved, and we can discuss how well you think it succeeded.
Yeah. I like
How about you?
I've never read Manacled actually. I
Mm-hmm.
heard about it quite a bit because I get like little hyperfoci on internet culture.
Mm.
And I actually set out to want to read it myself because this is more on the theme level what I like to read, which is freaking dark and
Mm-hmm.
depressing
Edge.
things. Sad, depressing, traumatizing. Give it.
Yep.
But I'm not a fan fiction girly and I'm not a Harry Potter or fantasy girly. So when I clicked on the fanfic and saw it had like an insane amount of words, I was like, nah, it's too much. Like, so I was more, but during that time it had already been taken down. So I found the fanfic through
Mm.
Reddit. Somebody had downloaded it, and during that time when I found out about Manacled, it was already announced that it was going to get published. So it has been, in the corner of my eye, this book for like, I think a year.
Mm-hmm.
And what really hooked me was how the fuck. Honestly, I'm not even sure if I approached this wanting to read it as an original work or being aware that it's a fanfic. I tried my darndest to see it as original work. So there's
Mm-hmm.
that. But what caught me is like, how the fuck do you mix together freaking Harry Potter and Handmaid's Tale? That's like insane.
I don't
Like
know. Yeah.
that. So the overall mood, that
I
was the
think when I
next.
heard about it, I hadn't even heard about
Mm-hmm.
it. Sorry, I think my internet went a little. But when I first heard about it, I don't think I have had ever heard about it in the context of the Handmaid's Tale. So
Yeah.
I know that that's what inspired it, right? But at the time, I didn't really know about it. Only that it was like, oh my God, this is so impactful and so
Mm-hmm.
sad,
It's
yada
true.
yada.
True. That is
Yeah.
that was how I was primed too. That's like, oh, it's so moving and so sad. And I listened to the summaries and I was thinking, well, it's hard to be saddened by something that you didn't read yourself.
Mm,
So there's
true.
that. So there's just a question here in my notes. How would you describe the overall mood? It's dark and sad, I would say.
Of Alchemized?
Yeah.
Um, I guess so. But at
Mm.
this, I guess that's like that's what it wants to be, right? That's the mood that it wants to be.
Yeah. Mm.
But did it succeed at that? I think it's more not so sure. Like I don't think I felt dark, depressing mood as I was reading it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I felt more like, oh, okay, okay,
Yeah, we
okay.
were similar. I know it wants to be dark and sag. That's what it wants to be.
Mhm.
I'll leave it at that because we'll get into that later.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, just for the beginning of the video, one thing we should also try and think about, I guess, is what kind of reader might enjoy it.
Um, I think academia. I
Mm-hmm.
think it usually has some like slightly darker-ish themes,
Mm-hmm.
and it does try to have a lot of hard science,
Mm-hmm.
and hard magic, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people who enjoy reading academia stuff might like it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is definitely a romance book. I know people are saying like, no, this is not a romantasy. This is not dark
Mm-hmm.
romance. This is a dark fantasy period. But I do think like the romance is very much central to the story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even if it can go deeper, whatever, whatever. But like it is definitely a romance.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you don't like romance,
No, I.
be aware. But if you do enjoy romance, like it is there. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely more in the dramatic way of that romances go, and definitely not in the spicy way that
Mm-hmm.
people will be used to when hearing romantic or dark romance. But it's definitely strongly there.
Mm-hmm.
So be aware of that, depending on your preferences.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Who else with this book before? What do you think?
I think I agree. I'm kind of surprised people don't see this as a romance when romance is the driving force of the plot.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
I guess it's just that like people are traumatized, I think, by the way romance has been used in like book talk and stuff like that. So like
that's true, yeah.
basically like if you say something is a romance, it's almost as if you're saying it's an insult and it's shallow or something like that. When
Mm-hmm.
like this is a romance, and it's fine. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is thematically deep, and it
Mm-hmm.
tackles many topics, many subjects, and it's fine. Like it can be a romance. It's okay. Like it's not
Yeah, there's
like
nothing
an
wrong with
offensive
that.
term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think the best way you can determine if a book is a romance is if you remove the romance, would the book still be the same? And in this case, no. It'd
Yeah,
be a
yeah.
different book. So it's definitely a romance. Right.
Hmm.
One last thing for the intro is I was thinking if I should do it now or later, but I think it's better we do it now so that people know what they're getting into, which is our final star rating.
Mm. For me, it was a 2.5 rounded up to 3. I
Mm-hmm.
think 3 is a solid uh score for this book. It
Mm-hmm.
has a few shortcomings
Mm-hmm.
that I think didn't hit as much, but it also has like it's a lot. I think ultimately it's just so much, but it did a thing, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
book, and it's not a horrible book by any means.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like 2.5, 3 stars, like in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm half a star above that, so I was 3.5 stars because I can't evaluate how good the technical aspects of the world building are because sometimes my eyes just closed over. I'm more in there for the feelings, so that's where my
Hmm.
ratings are in. And it's just while reading that book, I wished I would have been hit harder, number one. But number
Uh-huh.
two, I thought it did produce a semblance of Sag because I saw the vision, a semblance where I'm like, oh, it could have been so much better. Hit me harder with it. But anyway,
Hmm.
it's 3.5 stars with me, mostly because I think the vision is good and also because it inspired me quite a bit to like go on my own tangents about it. It's very good inspiration material if you're a writer yourself and you want to write a sad
Hmm.
story.
And like I think it's also a good discussion material.
That,
Like there's a
yeah,
lot to be talked about. There are many
yeah,
points. So like it definitely had like value and stuff like that.
yeah,
My rating is more on like I feel like there was a lot that didn't come through and that it fell short in that I
mm-hmm.
can't give anything higher, I feel.
Yeah. I agree. Like plot on a plotting level, sometimes I was just like, what? I have to say.
Yeah, plot execution of the ideas, of the themes, of the feeling, like everything. I feel like I don't
It
know.
it
It could have
feels,
done differently.
yeah, it feels a little bit undercooked to me, as if it
You
needed
know what I
like
think the issue might be?
what?
I feel like it was shoehorned or
Hmm.
like into this manacled.
Hi guys. Again, it's editing me. Um, so the original concept of this video was that I would have a part that was spoiler free and a part that was, with spoilers. The thing is, you can't control how discussions evolve. And I cannot, in good conscience, say that I have a spoiler free section anywhere in this discussion. We tried our best, but So, just a disclaimer, the overarching thoughts segment of this video has mild spoilers, I would say. Nothing too big, nothing that would, I feel like, ruin the reading experience too much. However, the plot thoughts segment, that's when we go ham and just discuss the plot. Fair warning, but I would recommend only watching this video once you've finished the book. Okay, that's it.
Right? Like this is what it is. And so it would always like I think it was too shackled to the template. And so when SenLinYu tried to, remove it, and I heard that she wrote it like 4 times, like rewrote the manuscript four
Oh
times.
shit.
But then there are things that like I can see why she did that and why they thought like, okay, this is how I have to do because it would make sense in Harry Potter for it to be this way. But in the new world, it doesn't have to be that way. And oftentimes that is the less optimal way. There was a better way to do something or to do a plot point, but I think they were too attached to how it was done because like that's all you can think of. Like it's hard to think outside the box when the box has been so well established for you. So I think maybe that was part of the issue. Like it's too shackled by what it was or what it used to be and not free enough to explore the potential. But also like there were so many things. Like it's so much. And like and you have to rethink about every single thing of those 300,000 words. I don't know how many. So I understand that it is definitely hard to try to free yourself from every single plot point. And but yeah, it was a big endeavor and maybe too much, you know, that
I
it was hard to execute it well at all.
I freaking agree. It read like if I were to think around that path or along that path, I feel like um the author had a huge case of author brain where you cannot see the entire picture of what you're doing because you're focusing on details and what to change to extract the fan fiction element from the book. So it's
Hmm.
essentially what you're describing. You rewrite it 4 times. Girl, rewriting something 4 times, you do not have the big picture anymore, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's so, I'm not quite sure if I could have experienced this book, like if I were naive or seen the vision of this book if I were naive to Harry Potter, for example, because
Hmm.
it's still in there. It's still in there. That's how I got the emotional attachment to certain characters because I knew who they were supposed to be.
Hmm.
Like one example for me, which is not a spoiler because it's literally in the first few chapters, is Shiseo. I knew Shiseo was
Uh-huh.
supposed to be Snape, right? And that's what contributed to me understanding him and liking him. I did like Shiseo. And I knew that, for example, oh my god, the most obvious thing that Helena is Hermione and Farron is Draco, and all that backed the attachment and the feels that I felt while reading this.
Hmm.
It's not entirely them, but I'm still imagining them. I'm like putting my emotional investment from Harry Potter into these characters, even though they're not even
Hmm.
them anymore. So, yeah, I agree that there you it needed more time. I feel like it needed maybe I don't know how long more to like really get a 3D vision of the story and its themes and how to. And I think what's most important here is that the author extracted themselves a little bit from the Harry Potter basis and just it's just a different process. I feel like I don't know. Did you ever write fan fiction?
Not really, no.
Same, so I can't really be an authority in it. But I feel like coming up with a fan fiction story has a different creative process than coming up with a original work.
Oh, for sure.
And not to
It
say,
requires less in a certain extent. It requires less building of
yes,
emotions, of relationships, of world because it already exists, right? And
yes,
that frees you to like go deep in many other topics or
yes,
like
I
ideas,
agree.
which is exactly what Medical did. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it worked really well in that sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was really good that we already had the attachment to the characters and their
Yeah,
relationships and everything else. And it was completely free to use those 300,000 words
yeah,
to like develop this deep like emotional connection and everything
mm-hmm.
else. So and meanwhile, here, I think it's about the same amount of words as
Mm-hmm.
Manacled,
Mm-hmm.
except we don't care about anyone.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know about the world. We know
Mm-hmm.
nothing. So, like, eventually, like, you're gonna get less. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there is no way around it. You
Mm-hmm.
will have less.
Mm-hmm.
And I ultimately that's where it failed in a certain aspect for me
Mm-hmm.
is like I don't care about anyone here. Like
Yeah.
I had kind of like you said, like the faintest echo of like characters that I already knew. So like when Helena talks about Luke, I
Mm-hmm.
can think like, okay, this is how Hermione would feel about Harry.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very distant and like just a faint echo. It
Mm-hmm.
still did not help me in getting attached to this
Mm-hmm.
character. It was more so like it helped understand where they were coming from, but I didn't feel it at all. Like you know,
Mm-hmm.
like it wasn't. I was not feeling the story. I was just like, oh, okay, this is what it's supposed to be, sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you kind of trap the reader in this particular book in this limbo of like, don't imagine freaking Snape, don't imagine Hermione, but to get into the story, you kind of still need it, you know?
And I will say this: they do not do a good job
Mm-hmm.
at establishing the relationships between the characters
Yes,
either.
yes.
Like, if, especially in part one, like why are we having like maybe good flashbacks of them? We only
Mm-hmm.
have the bad ones, you know,
Mm.
where the relationship starts falling apart. So like, why do I care that their
Yeah,
relationship is falling apart? Like, I don't even know who they are.
yeah.
So there is very little like, or when she started like, oh, and then look, this an awful thing happened to them, and then this an awful thing that happened to
Mm.
Lila. Why do I care? Like, I don't know who they
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
So I feel like and that wasn't established at any moment,
yeah,
especially in part one.
yeah.
And so it just falls kind of short, you know. But I did hear
Mm.
a few people who said that they read it without knowing anything about Medical or Harry Potter, and that
Mm.
they enjoyed it
Mm-hmm.
as a separate thing. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I don't know.
valid, I guess. This is just my reading of it, and then the fan fiction callbacks, the fan fiction fan fiction route searching in my reading happened mostly in the beginning. It does lessen, and it pops up a little bit
Yes, I
here or
agree.
there. Yeah,
I agree. Part one, that was very strong for me as well. In
yeah.
part two, I was able to forget that a lot more.
Yes, me too, me too. Because it's already such a different situation than what Harry Potter was.
Hmm.
It's the beginning because you're looking for the setup and there's just no setup. So you have to pull from, if you've read
Yes,
Harry
I agree.
Potter, you have to pull from it to be able to get into the story. But yeah, so the first topic, which we kind of already scratched on, is characters. What do we think about the characters? Which one stood out the most and why, for example?
Oof, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously I guess that has to be Helena
Mm-hmm.
because she is the main character.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like other than Helena and Farron, who are supposed to be the main characters,
Mm-hmm.
who stands out? Like really legit. Like we are so distant, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
humblest of opinions, we are so distant from everyone else. We're distant from Lila, we're distant from Luke,
Yeah.
we're distant from everyone. Even Moreau, whatever, is
Murrah.
such a like eh
Yeah.
character. So like I feel like all the other characters feel too distant for me to like even think
Anything.
anything about them
Yes.
whatsoever.
There is, like, not even with the main characters, I say there isn't an appeal to endear them to the reader. None whatsoever.
Yes.
Maybe Farron in part one, but mostly because I was suspecting that this was a romance, so I was expecting it to be like he has to be endearing at some point, right? Which he is towards the end of
Hmm.
part one, I have to say.
I thought of something. I think
Yeah,
the character of Crowther,
yeah.
and Alva, I don't know.
Yeah.
But those two, maybe we're actually closer to those two than we are to the ones that should matter more, which is
Yeah.
Luke and Lila.
Uh-huh.
So, which is really weird. And I still don't really think much of Crowther. I think, what is the other
Mm.
one? Ivy? Is
Mm.
that
Yeah.
the little girl? It's just somewhat interesting, but also
Mm.
like barely anything. And also
Mm.
they build up the suspense for it to be like, oh my God, they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
be a spy or something. I don't know. There was nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the closest character we are to is either Crowther. It definitely is him.
You
And I
think? Yeah.
still don't really care much about him.
I, I, I I don't care about anybody, to be honest. Not even Helena, which is just
Yeah.
sad to say.
Yeah,
Helena,
yeah, I
being
agree.
in Helena's head, it's still so very fucking distant. It's
Yes.
I
And
could.
you could say that like, oh, that's intentional, but I don't think you could say that. In
Why would
part
you say
one,
that,
definitely
Fern?
not.
Why would you want to
I
say
think
that with this book if you want it to be emotionally gripping?
okay, here's the thing.
Mm.
I think Manacled had a sort of a distant feeling, but it kind of made sense because that's what
Oh,
made it
true.
even more sad and tragic
True,
is that
true.
like wow, look at how broken Hermione is that she's
Yeah.
so distant and stuff like that. So it worked because we already knew what kind of person she was, and
Mm-hmm.
now we're seeing like what kind of person war has turned her into. This
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work here in Alchemized because we don't have who Helena was before. In fact,
That's true.
we have every reason to believe that Helena was just a fucking doormat before.
Yes.
Um, and she continued to be after.
Yeah.
So like that's it.
That
So
that
like
is
what do you want me to relate to?
such a valid point, because if I were to connect it more explicitly with Hermione, then I would get this perspective, this the shift in voice. But
Exactly.
out of nowhere, this it's quite remarkable how the prose manages to do everything that would be considered showing emotions, body language, all that, but it still feels telly to me. Like I'm being
Yes,
what
it
is it?
feels very telly, especially in part one.
Yeah.
Um, I think it got better in part two,
Did
a
it?
little bit better, but it's still no. I think part one was a lot more telly to me,
Mm-hmm.
because they definitely said like, oh, Helena felt gripping terror. I was like, did she?
Yeah.
Did she? Oh, she hated Farron, and I was like,
Does
really,
she?
really? Exactly. Like so, like I feel like there were a lot more telling moments
Mm-hmm.
in part one, but then even in part two, where I think they definitely improved the aspect of being more showy, I
Mm-hmm.
still didn't feel anything. And I think the main issue is that I don't know, Helena doesn't really have personality. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's a doormat. That's the point of her character, that she is a doormat and easily manipulated by everyone. And
Is
I
it?
guess she gets a little angry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like the whole institute, they have been taking people, immigrants from other places, and then they like make them
Mm-hmm.
believe in this and manipulate. So like it kind of is the point of her character that she's been a doormat and she's been manipulated, and
Mm-hmm.
she gives all of herself for this war and the war effort and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and she does nothing for herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that it kind of is the point of her character, but still, I don't care. Like if she's just a doormat, why do I care about her? And like even at the end,
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't get angry enough, in my opinion. I think there is just one moment where she's like kind of pissed off and tells
Mm-hmm.
um Crowther or someone else off, but for the
That
rest of it, like
moment,
even
like,
at the ending, she's just like, "No, actually, I'm not gonna keep my promise to you, Farron." But like, where is
what?
the anger towards the institution, towards all the other people?
Yeah.
Like, it felt very weak at that
Uh-huh.
point. So maybe there could have been like a build of Dormet character that gets progressively more angry and I don't know, like displeased and starts
Mm-hmm.
seeing what this institution truly is, and like maybe even wants to dismantle this institution or something,
Mm-hmm.
but it just simmers and continues being like doormatty
Mm-hmm.
forever. Like it doesn't really the growth was not growing that much to me, I
No,
guess.
like Helena is the same from the beginning to the end. There's nothing that happens except a lot of Sag, or ostensible Sag, I should say. But I agree. I don't think that was the vision of Helena, because I saw some things in there where she was meant to be like, I don't fucking know, strong. but like in a very
Mm-hmm.
passive way. You know, her whole
Yes.
deal was enduring. That's her whole freaking struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there is no sense of self-preservation in her. You know, it felt very contrived in the sense that the flaws that were put in there were not like being a doormat is not really a flaw more than a state. You know what I
Yeah,
mean by
I agree.
flaw is, what should I say? When in part one, when she's with Farron, this entire thing of like, I need to figure him out, but like being too broken to, that doesn't land because she never tries to figure him out. She's like, you know, the vibe in part one, even in part two, is that she's just a chess piece that you need to
Mm-hmm.
accompany so that you can follow the plot. There is not a lot of, she's not so fleshed out. And I think it's also not a good choice on a general level to use the main character, like make the main character a doormat. That's like the least engaging
Yeah.
way to interact with this world. She's a freaking rebel. She's doing treason. You know? She is that a
Yeah.
spoiler? I don't know.
I
At this
don't think
point,
so. She just doesn't really
doesn't
reason,
really.
like she's not betraying really much of anything.
Yeah, and then what I also don't understand is her fucking attachment to Luke. What did Luke ever do to her that she's so attached
Yeah.
to him? And I was so
Yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah.
confused because at that point I wasn't thinking of Luke as Harry Potter anymore because it was like it kept on being said that he was blonde and whatever, but he's obviously
Oh,
Harry.
he was? I
Yeah,
had no
yeah,
idea.
he's blonde. That's the hold fast thing. They're blonde and blue eyed, I guess. I don't know if he has blue eyes. I think he
Oh,
does.
I
And
thought that was Lila. I wasn't sure.
oh yeah, no, Lila also had blonde hair, I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, I only know
I
this
don't
because of
know.
the picture at
It's
the
so
end of the
hard.
book.
For me, it's so hard to remember descriptions of basically everything.
Yeah.
Like it was so hard. But anyway, I agree with you. Like she's a passive character. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a choice. And if you want for this to like be good, then you better give me a fucking like 180 flip on this
Mm-hmm.
character like growth. Like so okay, she start passive.
Mm-hmm.
Show me being like extremely active then. Like and
Mm-hmm.
no, what she was doing at the end was not active. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Um so like show me, I don't know, her trying to now like dismantle the institute and create something better. But no, that was Lila. Show me, I don't know, like her having more of a sense of self-preservation. She's so her
Mm-hmm.
whole life she's been like giving her life for other people, including Farron. Let her choose to live now and do like something that like makes her, the choice is her own life, because she learns to, I don't know, love herself more than anything else. Anything, any growth. But it's more like uh, passive and a little spurt of activeness, then more passive. That's it.
You know, I
Okay.
was thinking about like when would a passive character be okay as a main character? And one thing I have to say is it can't be in a book that's 1,000 pages long. Like you can work because The Handmaid's Tale, the book, the main character Offred or June in the book is very passive. Things just happen to her, but that's like the point of the story, right? That's supposed to showcase a
Hmm.
regime that inflicts pain on
Yeah.
everybody. So it works, and it's very stream of consciousness, and it's the plot is not really the main focus in that book. That is not the case with Alchemized. Alchemized is, I would say, also heavy on the plot. And to convey whatever I can assume SenLinYu wanted to convey, you can't have Helena just being like, she's so stuck to her own convictions throughout the entire story, where it kind of loses the message. I feel like if your character is essentially the same fucking doormat as she was in the beginning and in the end, why the fuck did I go on with this journey? Because like that's why the ending, I'm not going to spoil it, falls so flat because nothing has changed. This is exactly the ending I would have predicted for a character like this. So it's very stagnant. Like, what did you fucking expect? Like, if you want me to feel something for them by the end, they should have at least tried. We're not gonna spoil the ending at this point, but this is like something very important to me as to why it didn't land, is that they never tried. They were more reacting to everything, in my opinion, at
Yeah.
least. There was no actual struggle for me to like bite my nails over and be like, oh my god, I hope they never they're always evading or reacting, the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes. Yes.
there's a semblance of sag by the end because I'm like, oh man, they've been through a lot. But it could have been amped
Mm-hmm.
up to the nth degree. Their roles could have been much more highlighted. No, anyway.
Yeah. You know, I feel like this needed to be a Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know how in the end, like Peeta and Katniss, they have like, damn, they've been through so much, and they're definitely traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
But they have something now, and whew, thank God. Like, I think the ending of Hunger Games is like, it's so sad. Like, it makes me
Mm-hmm.
cry. Like, um, and I think this is what it wanted to be, or what it should be,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, Jesus, like they've been through everything, and not by their choices. They did not want to be
Mm-hmm.
in this, and that's the thing for like Katniss
True,
and
true.
and Peeta. But like the character growth was there for
Mm-hmm.
Hunger Games. Like there was definitely like and understanding the system and understanding and Katniss's like whole perspective of being like, I hate the system, but wait a minute. The
Mm-hmm.
system is everywhere, including like this new person who's saying that they want to do something different, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So uh, I think there was a growth in terms of belief as well. I guess a
Mm-hmm.
transformation. For Helena is more like, I just want peace, I just want peace, I just want peace, and now I have peace. Okay, the end. And
Yeah.
so like, okay, but,
Mm,
where is the learning? Where is like the belief change? Where is like the, you
yeah.
know, I don't know, the conclusion of the theme of this book? And to me, it's not there.
You know what?
Um.
What it's missing, and this is solely because I've been reading a lot of literary fiction nowadays,
Mm,
is that there has to be a reason why your story demands to be told, right? It doesn't have to be a
mm-hmm.
moral, some kind of like stupid fucking message in there, like some insight hidden. It doesn't have to be so explicit. And you see, I'm not even high on that standard, right? I don't need to be like, oh my god, the
Yeah,
stories. But
I
even
agree.
that,
It's just like an idea and its conclusion. What is the idea or
yeah,
hypothesis or whatever you are bringing, and what is the conclusion? And I feel like it was just a bunch of ideas thrown in there,
yes,
but then the character was just like navigate, like like going through the with the flow, and then in
yeah.
the end, that's it, the end part.
You know,
So
it feels
I feel
like
like
the
it's just
ingredients were thrown into the pot but never heated up. You know, it's just like, it's all there. Why aren't you like making a great fucking soup out of this? I don't get it.
yeah, yeah, it's like a lukewarm, like never
Yeah,
heated properly, I guess.
yeah.
I see what
Um,
you mean.
yeah, so let's, um, I still want to like dive into like Farron.
Before the spoiler part.
Yeah, before the spoiler part is probably just going to be the ending because at this point I cannot edit out some discussions that could have been spoiled. It's spoiler free in the
Mm,
sense that we won't get into the details. It's just an
okay.
overarching thing. But let's talk about Farron. Um, Generally, before I get started, I feel like this book doesn't do character introductions well. They don't have oomph, in my opinion. Even with Farron, who is supposed to be
Yeah,
the leading
yeah,
man.
I think it and in part one, where he's supposed to be like, ooh, big villain, it's so scary.
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
was he?
So
I didn't get that.
yeah, it was
See,
like,
that's what I mean. Like,
he yeah, like she was supposed to be like, I hate him so much and
mm,
whatever. She says like many times, like even in part three when spoilers,
no,
things
don't.
change
Yeah,
in her
things
mind.
change. Yeah.
Um and she's like, oh, I hated him so much, the version of Farron. I was like, did you? Because
Did
I
you?
did not remember. I didn't know
Yeah.
you were supposed to hate him, and but apparently you were, and
Yeah.
apparently he was supposed, because like, oh, the High Reeve, it's
Oh my
ooh,
god.
super scary, ooh.
You know what
But
piss?
I
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Finish your point. Um.
No, I was just gonna say like it never lended, I think
Mm,
it
mm,
throws a lot of big stuff like, oh, Morrow is the High Necromancer, so scary. I'm like,
mm.
okay, I guess he's
Yeah. Like,
uh
oh my god. I think I said it in one of my videos that this book just edges me with vibes. It's like because it doesn't have any vibes. Like, dude, I love the title High Reeve. It sounds pretty fucking badass. You could sell me the fantasy of him being like this cold-blooded, freaking killing people left and right. And you can even sell me the High Necromancer as being very fucking creepy. But it wasn't, right? That's the thing. Um, so,
here I was wondering,
yeah.
but what could they do? like what how did this not work? Because like, okay, so they're telling like, oh, the High Reeve, he killed a bunch of people and he killed all of the revolution
Oh, you cut out.
murders
Yeah.
and he killed everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, am I
Oh, it's a little bit
can you hear
choppy,
me?
but just keep talking.
Okay. Okay, okay. But so anyway, like they were saying like, oh, the High Reeve killed everyone and he killed all of the rebellion
Mm-hmm.
and he killed all of us and he reanimated them and continued killing them. So they told everything of all the awful things that they did,
Mm.
but that the High Reeve did. So why did we not care?
Yeah.
Is it just because it's more telling again? Like I
Yes.
guess there was nothing that was truly showy. Like there were points where he was snarky with her and like, "Ooh,
Oh, there.
you're an idiot because
Yeah.
your rebellion was stupid." And I was like, "Oh, is that awful? Like, are we supposed to like hate him because of that?"
Yeah,
So,
I think there was one scene, it's not really a spoiler because it's such a throwaway scene of him killing an entire family in that one ball, you know. I think it was
oh,
meant to
uh-huh.
demonstrate that he's evil, but it just felt so performative. How I would improve this, especially being High Reeve being such a badass, is you have to build a mythology around it, right? You have to, and that's
Mm,
mostly through how people around him act around him. I know it's
mm-hmm.
supposed to be a big secret that he's that, but you have to like add a little bit of mystery and an element of fear when the High Reeve shows up, right? And then the reader will get, oh my fucking god, this is a big deal. He's actually really, really dangerous. And the same, by the way, is
Yeah,
true for
I
Murrough.
think maybe Aurora should be scared of him. What is the girl? Strauss,
Yeah.
the medical. She should be afraid of him as well. Like I guess like that would like build the momentum.
Yes.
But then we also needed scenes where he was actually a horrible person
Yes.
to Helena. But the problem is that spoiler alert, we everyone I think everyone knows this. Like he isn't
Yes.
that bad. So like, how do you build and make him seem like oh the most awful person in the world when he isn't and he doesn't want to be?
Mm-hmm.
But then like you have to make the reader believe it. But
Mm-hmm.
I just don't believe it because he's not being super evil and awful, you
Yeah,
know?
that
So
see, there I go again, arguing from a standpoint that is my vision of how Farron should have been. Because it's true.
oh,
He doesn't have the vibe of a bad guy. It's like the author didn't want to go there because I'm assuming because they didn't want to alienate him to the reader because this is a romance and I guess the end goal is here that the readership ships the two of them. But
mhm.
it's so true. It's so true. He doesn't act like a bad guy. It's more like childish bullying. What happens?
Yes,
Like
yes.
it's just
Yeah, he's just a bully.
words.
Like and it's
Yeah.
annoying, but that's it, you know? You know, here's something for all the issues with Akatar and Sarah J. Maas. I feel like she did a better job making Risen feel like an actual enemy
Yeah.
than this book did with making Farron sound like an enemy.
Yeah.
Like
You know, I
that.
freaking love the idea of that, by the way. And it's a huge challenge to do this, that where you actually make somebody who's quite literally a bad guy, a villain. Let's say we're
I
talking
have an idea.
what?
I think Moro or like Farron
Mm-hmm.
should be in the same place as Moro.
Yes.
Like I think like so then he has no alternative. Like he has to be awful and torture people and do all of these things in front of Moro.
Mm-hmm.
So you know because he has to keep his cover. So I think if he was surrounded by more people who had to believe in his act, I
Mm-hmm.
think it could have been better and give more reason for him to be like super awful.
Well, I don't think he was lacking of reason in a sense, even alone with Helena. It's just the author wouldn't go there. It would, which let's like bring in Murroch in this. I say Murroch, but
I
that's
actually have
just
no idea how to say
that's just my German
Moro.
coming out. But like, I think Murroch needed more amping up because freaking the vibe that the Death Eaters have with Lord Voldemort was not translated into this, which I think would have worked, by the way. This
Hmm.
whole like, don't say
Hmm.
anything wrong because if you say something wrong, he'll torture you or something. You know, it's this very heavy handed
Hmm.
fear and almost adoration and awe at something so evil and powerful. That wasn't there. And what would have worked is
Hmm.
if Farron is attached to him by the hip and just by effect. So the vibe is going to be the High Reeve is so attached to the High Necromancer. That's why he's equally as creepy, but it's very apparent that he's the High Necromancer's lapdog. But you don't mess with him too, because, you know, he's the most connected to him. But it's just, they're so entirely separate. We hardly get to see Murrow. Not that I feel like we should have, but when he's there, and that's what I mean. When he's there, when the big bad guy, the High Necromancer, shows up, it always has to be a moment. Because, I don't know, it just makes more sense if it is a moment.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Are you still forbidden from going to Noah? Because this is hard.
It's
like
hard, yeah.
when she sees Morrow, like I think for the second time, and she's describing like all the, and there's a throne of people.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I guess that would be creepy, but I still don't feel nothing. I feel absolutely nothing. You know, like I don't know. This is a little contradicting for me, like this book, because I don't like, it has some elements there, like you're describing a creepy atmosphere, like she's describing the smell of decay, she's describing how like everyone like looks dead and he's just standing on top, and then like it moves like a hive mind of sorts, like guiding Moreau everywhere, like that's kind of creepy. That's a creepy idea, but I feel nothing. Why? I don't understand, like, you know.
That was actually one of my favorite chapters. I think it was chapter 13, because I was already filling in the blanks so extremely that I caught a vibe. You know, I caught a vibe reading that, entering Murrow's lair, where I could imagine it very well. And I feel like it's just, I like to describe it as authorial directing, you know? You have to shift the reader's attention and then make it escalate into something truly creepy. So I don't know if she did it this way or they did it this way. I would have described the smell entering first, the rot, the reek, stronger than anywhere else, mixed with the frigging, in German you would say Müffel. You know, when the air is stale, mixed with that, like damp cellar. You walk in, it's barely lit up, you know, you can hear something breathing. And it's like, and then you would describe the breath, it's rasping and it's shaky and it's like a huge animal breathing or whatever. And then she doesn't want to go there, but Farron forces her or something. And then at some point, you reveal Murrow bit by bit, however creepy. Maybe the first thing that Helena sees is not even Murrow himself, but like a part of that throne.
Moving?
Yeah, or a part.
Gigantic, yeah, like.
Yeah, a part of that throne. And then maybe she recognizes it's freaking, what's her face, Mandel. And then you're like, what the fuck? She's dead. And then it gets revealed that it's this freaking monstrosity. And when I read that chapter out loud, I gave Murrow a very mellow, this kind of voice. Very, you know, it's not creepy. And that I felt like adds, describe the voice, that it's just a whisper, you know, a whisper that's, and then when he finally starts getting angry in that scene, it would hit so much harder, you know. But that's like the vibe I was envisioning, and why I really liked that chapter too was because the way Farron was acting, if it would just have been amped up, because, you know, if he had been the boss in part 1 the entire time, everybody's afraid of him, and now he's talking to the big boss and he's suddenly so submissive, it would have hit so hard. And then the fact that he was also trying to protect Helena, I felt like that was done well. When he realizes, oh shit, I'm gonna get tortured, he drops Helena and then faces it. I thought it was such a moving scene if it would only have been amped up, because he was about to leave, do you remember? And then Murrow says, you're not going anywhere. And and almost out of reflex, he drops Helena and faces Murrow. And then, you know, the thing happens. And I thought that would have been so fucking emotional if the emotions were amped up. Because what works there for me emotionally is the contrast to what happened, how he is before. And and that moment of him dropping Helena, for me it read like, because he didn't want her to get hurt, that would have done such work in the romance department, you know. And then
I see your vision.
Yeah, and then
that's not what I saw when I read it. But
wait, let me just.
When you describe it like that, it does sound pretty awesome. Like it could, like I see the potential too now that you're describing it.
Yeah,
but it just
didn't land that way. No, I fully recognize that, especially because like that for me is like the midpoint of part 1 is chapter 13, so something has to change in in the relationship, right? Which for me happened in the end when they're in the car and he just looks tired. This is my cat, the cat feed, but
Yes,
wait, let me just
that
finish that.
I see what you're saying.
For me, the tired, what was I gonna say?
Mm-hmm.
That vision of him tired in the front seat of the car, that is the first time we see the High Reeve freaking exhausted, what this war has done to him. That's the first, and it was just such a little moment of Helena looking at him and he's just slumped over. And it was so fucking painful in my head with my vision. Anyway, your turn.
No, I see what you mean, and you know what I think the issue is
Mm-hmm.
that there are so many ideas in this book, and you know when you
Mm-hmm.
have you get a textbook and you highlight everything
Yeah.
because you think everything is important, so now
Mm-hmm.
nothing is highlighted. I think this is this book where like
Yeah.
everything is given equal thought or equal like definition, equal description, that
Mm-hmm.
nothing really stands out.
Yeah.
Like if the author had like, okay, what is the most important thing in part one? What do I need to nail down absolutely?
Mm-hmm.
Is this progression of first, Farron needs to be super scary.
Mm-hmm.
Two, when the change in demeanor or in how we see Farron at that specific point. So like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, very specific things that just need to be built up
Mm-hmm.
and everything needs to be secondary, even tertiary to that. But I
Yeah.
think that's what this book was missing. Like, okay, give me what is the most important idea
Mm-hmm.
here and focus on it and build that up and let everything else simmer a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If that had been done, I think it could have landed a lot better. But
Mm-hmm.
I did feel a lot of the times in part one, two, three, like you're
What?
juggling so many things.
Yeah, yeah,
Calm
it's
down a
very
little,
muddy.
focus on one thing.
Yeah, it's very muddy. Even the world building, the character progression, the internality, it's so messy. Like I
Hmm.
cannot follow a line of progression in all of it. It like even with the world building in particular, it's like a lot of things get repeated, and then we jump back and forth. Like there is no particular setup being done. It feels like, oh, I have this idea. I'm just gonna write it down now, no, and
Hmm.
not without.
And
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
I was just wanted to say
The
that
chapters.
without thought.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Hmm.
I just
Hmm.
wanted to finish
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it was thrown in there without a thought about setup, where it would be appropriate to throw it
Yes.
in there. And that's why it felt like I
And
was
even
being thrown
structure.
about. Yeah?
Yeah, like part one, I think suffer a lot from this, and fine. It comes it's trying to be gothic, which usually like it's more of like rambling and going on and on and on and on and on and on. But I
Mm-hmm.
really missed like a chapter
Mm-hmm.
structure. Like, okay, in this chapter, the goal is to show this.
Mm-hmm.
The like object conflict outcome is gonna be this. The setup
Mm-hmm.
conflict outcome is gonna
Mm-hmm.
be this. For this one, the main part, the main focus of the chapter is this, and then the setup conflict and the outcome is gonna be this.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like there was nothing
The
of
most
that. Like it
basic.
was there was
Yeah.
very little structure to the chapters, and I feel like that just makes it into a meandering story. That makes a story without structure, without goal, without aim,
Mm-hmm.
and where everything is kind of just there. You
Yeah,
know, like and
I
nothing
agree.
truly stands out. Like I think that's the summary of how this hit for me. There's a lot of good ideas there.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of interesting things, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all just there. Like
Yeah.
what is the purpose of all of this? I
Yeah.
know there are some ideas, and some ideas like I can see what could be the purpose behind them, but they
Mm-hmm.
were not addressed with a
Mm-hmm.
main focus
Mm-hmm.
that would make me see like, okay, this is how this idea is being developed throughout the
Mm-hmm.
story, and it reaches its conclusion. It's just like, oh, but what about this? And what about that?
Yeah.
And this and that and this and that. I'm like, okay, but what about him?
Yeah.
Tell me, like,
It's
what are you
just
what conclusion do you want from this?
it's just there and you're left to fill in the blanks yourself. Like how do I connect this into a story that is coherent? That's true. That being said, I think we already discussed like around an hour around non-spoiler, and I want to get into the fucking spoilers. So let's go.
Okay, okay,
Okay, the first thing I want to
let's
mention
go.
is how freaking ludicrously the sexual assault was handled in this book. Like
Mm,
I like to think that I can tell when an author doesn't want to touch a topic with a 10-foot pole. And that is one of it. That is one of the thing that I noticed in this book. It's just like, girl, you already included this. It's there. You might as well do it right. Which is, it's severely glossed over. There's no reflection to it. It
yeah.
doesn't change the dynamic at all, apart from a few discussions about, like, I raped you. But it's not really digested what it means. for their relationship in particular, because I thought it was such an interesting depiction of it, because both of them didn't want it, right? You're like, Farron is
Yes.
getting forced into it. Helena doesn't want it for sure. And it's just this freaking, could have been such a cluster of pain, you know?
And here's
Oh,
the thing.
yeah.
What does it change? What does it affect in any
Nothing.
shape or form? Other than to say that this book is inspired by Handmaid's Tale.
And it got
Nothing.
her pregnant,
It
I
affects
guess. What the?
nothing. It
Nothing.
is not necessary for the story in
Yeah.
any shape or form.
It
If
could
this
have.
hadn't happened, if she hadn't gotten pregnant, if she hadn't had a baby, nothing would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the poor excuse that this is what releases her memory, which could have been done in any other way. So,
Yeah.
like, it's completely useless. So at
Yeah.
that point, like, do you even need it there?
Yeah.
Uh,
I
like,
agree.
if it's not gonna do anything, why? And if it's going to be there, then make it have a purpose, please.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess I agree with you. Like, there's and it really was just like, oh, and then he did it, and then he threw up, and that's it. Okay,
Yeah.
bye, next.
3 times
Okay,
back to back,
like,
mind you, Fern. 3 times. Which I thought, like, 3 times in the span of 2 chapters. Uh, and none of
she's
them.
not crying. She's not like nothing happens. And I in part three they
Mm-hmm.
tried to like come back from it, and Helena is like, obviously she should be traumatized. Like, holy
Mm-hmm.
shit! Like it's it's an interesting duality of
Mm-hmm.
like the person that I love and that I have loved all this time, but now I'm trying to like make sense of with this person who did so many hurtful things to me.
Mm-hmm.
How do I put them back together?
Mm-hmm.
But like she didn't feel like she suffered that much. Like
No.
she didn't sound like it wasn't the most traumatic event in her
Yeah.
life. Like
She.
it was just like any other day. It's like, oh man, Farron
The
screamed at
freaking
me today. Oh, today I was
conflict.
raped. Oh my god, sucks.
Yeah. The
Like it's
freaking.
so weird.
It's so fucking weird because the freaking conflict is right there. It's right fucking there, and you don't want to address it. Which is, this guy that you love has abused you in part one, and in part three, he's the guy that you love again, and then you have to reconcile the two somehow. Somehow, you know, it's this, but it's
Hmm.
not fucking addressed anywhere. Like, I'm
I
sure
think
there
there is
was
a teeny
attempts.
tiny bit
Yeah,
where
no.
she's like, "Oh, I want to have sex with you," and then she's like, "No, stop, stop." Oh, okay, it felt good that I could say stop. Next time, let's do it. So
Oh,
like
literally.
that was it. That was the extent of it. So
My God, what
it
a
definitely was not
fucking
handled
waste.
well.
That's like actually my impression of this book is like, what the fucking waste. There were so many good ideas for Tasty Pain, but nothing is done with it. Which, by the way, the freaking how the 180 degrees of Theron's character mid book was freaking horrible. It was horrible. It was handled, because in my head, my version of
Yeah.
Farron was like in
Mhm.
part one, super fucking evil, right? That's what was being gone for, to
Mhm.
set that up. And then in
Mhm.
part two, we get to know him better, right? Like who he is. And he was still rocking the asshole persona, but like a childish kind. Not at all marred by the war, except in description and not really in character, in my opinion. And then we
Mhm.
get the
Mhm.
reveal that he's doing it all for his mother, which is such a fucking cheap, in a cheap way. It has been revealed in a cheap way because we don't fucking
Yeah.
know who this mother is. He starts crying and it's supposed to
Yeah.
be this emotional breakdown and the reader's supposed to feel it too. I didn't feel shit. I was just like, wow, that really sucks. It's like reading a history book of like, because his mother died, but it's
Yeah.
not fleshed out and like emotionally. And then all of a sudden, we get this fucking, we discussed this in chat, this fucking annoying thing shoved down our throats that he's obsessive and he this fucking array. And I hated it. It was so corny because that felt
Yeah.
like a plot device that's shoehorned in there instead of it growing organically. His obsession, I don't even think he's obsessed with Helena, to be honest, but like growing organically this attachment that he has to Helena, why he needs her. The most obvious thing is what I also mentioned in my video is that this is a world that is devoid of any affection and love and whatever. And in these two fucking treacherous, treason committing freaking two people, they find this genuine emotionality and attachment and affection in this world right there in their clandestine meetings, right? Why wasn't that built up?
Mhm.
And then after that, after he confesses So after he confesses his motivations and after he gave into the Farron obsession, or how the book sets it up, he does 180 degrees and is suddenly this affectionate, overly, are you okay kind of person. So
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is happening? Why?
It felt it felt more like it was like a sudden like magic obsession thing,
Yeah.
and not something that was like built up. I agree with you because and this is one thing that I hate about this book as well, is like the monologues. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
oh my
we have
fucking
reached an
god.
important moment. Let me tell you the story of my life. So
Yeah.
this is my brother, and we were twins, and ever since la 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 la.
Oh
Like,
my
shut
god,
up! Like,
shut
this was
up.
not anyway. Like that Moreau set of Cetus reveal that was so dumb. But like
Yeah.
the same thing happened with Farron here. He was like, okay, I guess it's time for my monologue. My
Yeah.
mother, back in the day, and when I was born, like, and
Oh my
like, give
god.
everything. It's like, okay, no, like, it should be like, okay, maybe he's feeling vulnerable and like he's being healed, and he says something like, "You remind me of my mom,"
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, how?" And then maybe he shares a little bit more,
Yeah.
and then like little by little, they
Yeah.
like start relating and they become like start confiding in each other, and
Yeah.
of course then that's like you can have like this quote unquote obsession be a dependency, because that would make sense. That would make
Yeah.
so much sense that they're codependent on each other, because like that you're the only person I have, like literally. For
Yeah.
Farron, it definitely is. Like I can count on my dad. Well, also the whole thing with his dad being like super evil, but actually he loves him so much, that was so dumb
What
as
the
well.
fuck?
Um, yeah, anyway,
Oh
like
my
when
god.
you get into the spoilers, there are so many things that don't make sense. But either way, like it would have made so much sense. So they start with fighting, and then Ferris starts to realize like this is actually the only person that I enjoy being around.
Yeah.
This is actually the only person that I have that I can talk to, that I can be
Mm-hmm.
myself, who knows every single thing about me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't let them go.
Yeah.
Like like you don't have to make it sound like a supernatural
Yeah.
obsession because
So
the dragon
unnecessary.
who eats its own tail and his obsession is gonna kill
Oh my
himself.
god,
Or
shut up.
no,
Ugh.
just
I fucking
yeah,
hated
just
that.
like
It's such a bad case of romance brain in a book where it doesn't
yeah,
belong
yeah,
into, where it's like, why? Anyway,
yeah. It could have been done a lot better. I agree.
I, I want to get back into that fucking monologue problem of this book and the musing
Ah,
problem. Like, I feel like
mm-hmm.
there is
Oh my
some
god,
semblance of self
girl,
awareness.
the info dumps. Wasn't
Yeah,
there one where they were like, "Oh yeah, and this person who likes this other thing," and then they research
yeah,
this other thing? It's like, what are we
what?
talking about this right
Yeah.
now? Why are you telling me? Like, was it 5 I don't remember. I think I sent you a message like, why the
Mhm.
fuck are we talking for 5 pages about something that does not matter at all?
The bow cuff. That was the the cuffs that Lila ends up getting. It's so terrible. Like the
Oh
fucking,
yeah! Oh
yeah.
my god, that was so fucking devil. Oh, the Barkov. Oh, the
Yeah,
Barkov.
cuff. Like,
Absolutely.
and
Blah
then
blah blah
it's
blah blah blah
never
blah. And
mentioned
then this is the
again.
thing. And actually, when Helena went to go with her dad, so that's why she knows how to replicate. Like,
Yeah,
but you can just say like, oh, she got the Barkov, which was easy to replicate.
yeah.
That's it. Easy to
Why
pretend.
this
Highly infectious.
fucking
The end.
elaborate? No, I had a huge problem already from, I think, starting chapter 2 or 3 with like, oh, I see. Helena is gonna sit there and start thinking and reflecting on shit that literally happened last chapter. And then she's gonna start fucking thinking about it, and nothing that she ever thinks about actually moves the plot forward or sharpens her motivations. It's just there to, in the end, I think it was there so that the reader doesn't have to do the heavy lifting of the themes. I think that was the main purpose of the musings that Helena has, is that the author seemingly wants you to not think about what they're going for, so they're gonna have Helena think about it, and then maybe it's
I
also a
think that's
pros.
it.
Yeah, so it's
I
also a
I
pros.
genuinely.
Yeah.
Sorry. Finish the thought.
Oh, I was just saying, I think it was also a process for them because I just know how it is drafting. Sometimes you lose the themes of them refocusing themselves on the theme, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was less for the reader and more in the sense of theme, and more so the author like, oh, trying to build Helena's character, I feel
What?
like, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, oh, okay, I have to make my character like, what would they think in this situation? Like, let me show what my character would think and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But like, okay. And also maybe part of like because in Gothic is a lot of people just thinking, right? Like in Gothic novels and stuff like that, it's just like I'm trapped in this mansion and I'm gonna think the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I guess it's kind of like part of the setting, but yeah, it's done for nothing, right? Like it leads into nothing. It doesn't develop anything,
Yeah,
basically.
I, I have to say, I think maybe where I can connect this is also The Handmaid's Tale, the book, because the book is just Offred in her room being insanely bored. That's the theme, is that she's only
Hmm.
there not doing anything, and essentially the message is that she is a board, a piece on the board, and she has no agency,
Hmm.
right? Which works in that limited setting, in that limited story, but it doesn't work in this one, as I said before. And if
Yeah.
in Gothic novels, sure, there's a lot of thinking, but it sets up the vibe. It sets up the vibe of unease, of, death and romanticism and whatever, all that. That's what the reflection is for. The prose is just too weak. It cannot carry it. It's too dry. There is no tone
Hmm.
setting at all in this book. I feel like, I mean, it's still there when you read it. You know what the tone is, which is the wartime sadness, I guess.
I'm being told a theme.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling the theme.
yeah.
Yeah, basically.
But here's the thing,
Also,
and this is how you can bend the writing rules. I think you can tell something and still set up a vibe. You can do it,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but
It,
this
it
book
was
doesn't.
just one. Yeah, not
Yeah,
the other.
yeah.
Also,
Um,
can I just say
yeah. Go
the
ahead.
sorry as excuse for having a red robe, like in Handmaid's
Yeah.
Tale? She sees a red flower and is like, blood, blood, there's
Oh,
blood. And then Aurora sees it, is like, oh, so you don't like the color of red, and starts dyeing everything red. That is that was
oh my
so
God,
fucking dumb. Like,
Aurelia
I
could
swear to
like
God.
the worst fucking
Oh
subplot
yeah,
ever
Aurelia.
in that book. I hate fucking Aurelia. Not on a character level, but I hate that
Uh-huh.
she was done dirty. She was done so dirty because
Yes.
the
She could have been
complexity
a
could
lot
have
more.
been there. Yeah, she could have been more than this
Yeah.
caricature of,
Like bitchy, yeah.
like, it's a caricature of old times, I guess, like, where it cheapens the women who actually went through that patriarchal system that was, I don't know, existent in Victorian time. I
Mm-hmm.
don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're portraying
Yeah.
them as idiots.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
And you could
then
have done so like Aurelia could have been such an interest, like she could still have been like evil, quote unquote, but like you could have her like be so much more complex and
yeah.
like and understand that maybe she's afraid of Farron. She's not exactly looking forward to it, but she understands like this is what I have to do. This is what I've been raised to do. This is what I was born to do.
Yeah.
And so like this is my purpose. I don't understand anything. Like honestly, if this book was centered around Aurelia, like who she could have actually
Yeah.
been, maybe it might even be more interesting to be honest.
Yeah, because that is so fascinating to me. Somebody, because as on a structural level, you want a character who is so in the system, right? Because in a way,
Mm-hmm.
Aurelia would represent the new world order, in this case, the necromancy world order.
Mm-hmm.
She's bought into it. She believes that she should marry and produce heirs. She believes that this is the right way to go. She could have been the beacon of that in like almost like an everyday person. She's not everyday because she's like a little bit of royalty, but somebody who's
Yeah.
not involved in the politics actively believing in the system.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been her
Mm-hmm.
role, but it's not. She's just a freaking stereotype of the evil stepsister, and I freaking hated how she was handled. The same is true for Lancaster, who is somehow fucking obsessed with Helena for no reason, or at least not a
Also,
believable.
also, I
Yeah.
can't believe it that to this day, like, seriously, why is it still so fucking normal that we need the character to be the FMC to be nearly raped and to give it a chance for the big baddie, ooh, morally great character to come save them and
Yeah.
make this like, oh, like I can't believe that to this day we still have this trope. Like, for fucking sake,
No,
you
you
know?
can have the trope if you do it right. If you do it right. Not in a sense that I can only point at things that have been done wrong here. This obsession that comes out of nowhere on both Farron and Lancaster, by the way. So it's super convenient. The hate toward Helena from Aurelia for the shallowest reason, even from Mandel. Everybody hates Helena, and it's always because they're jealous and petty and essentially 12-year-old children.
Mm-hmm.
And the almost
Yep.
rape thing, you know that if you actually sat down and thought about what like what are the motivations for sexual assault, you would realize it's not fueled by love or obsession. Usually, it's fueled by a desire for power and subjugation, right? Like you could,
Mm-hmm.
if Lancaster had that, maybe I don't fucking know. I can't think of it because I didn't
I
write
think
the book.
they tried
No,
to
that's
have that because like, Lancaster, I don't know, envies Farron. I don't know, no, that wasn't there. I don't think.
really, I don't think so because I think Lancaster was obsessed with Helena because she escaped him when she blew up the West
Yeah, he
Laboratory.
saw her.
Oops.
Like, whoa, she's so hot. I
Yeah,
want that. I
that's
gotta
it.
keep
And
going.
then like you are even, it's such women writing men vibes. If that even still exists, where it's like they're this brainless, horny population that you have to like be some kind of, I don't know. It was so bad because I would imagine the angle I would pursue if I were to write the story with Lancaster is he felt humiliated. He felt
Mm,
humiliated by the fact
mm-hmm,
that she
mm-hmm,
got away. And he would have, and then I would have set that up in the little interactions that he was having with Helena, the brief interactions, that he is somehow petulant a little bit, but not in a childish way. He feels humiliated and he wants to put her down. And then I wouldn't have her kidnap her, to be honest, because that's just so dumb. But like that would have been the vibe that he feel Helena like he feels affronted by her that she's there and then she doesn't even remember him. Oh my fucking god, that would hurt his ego so much, you know?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then in a
And also, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, so and then that would create a nice conflict for then Farron to step in and demonstrate his moral grayness, I guess. I don't fucking know, but go ahead.
But you know, my other problem with this issue is that it undermines so much of the plot of like Morrow and High Reeve. You know that this like do you really fear the high? I guess maybe Lancaster doesn't know that's the high reef, but still, you should
Yeah.
fear Moreau because, like, you know that Moreau wants this prisoner,
Mm-hmm.
and like everyone has been talking about, like, oh, Moreau, we need to interrogate. She knows
Mm-hmm.
everything, and you are going to just kidnap her. Like, do
Yeah.
you not fear
Yeah.
this like insane high necromancer, super
Yeah.
scary monster? Like, do you not fear the consequences? And the same thing happens again
With
with
Aurelia.
Farron's dad when he starts burning like
Yeah.
the girl, and that's even after like we said she's carrying the baby that's gonna save the high
Yeah.
necromancer. Like, we need this girl fucking live.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna kill you, la 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 la. He's gonna be fine with it. Like, no one's no one's afraid of
Yeah.
the high necromancer. No one, like, even Mendel just like not processing. I suppose like in this case it was just like, oh, she's going to be cold, I guess we'll just put her in this other tank. So in
Mm-hmm.
Mendel's case, fine, whatever. But like all these other situations, like,
Mm-hmm.
do people not fear the
Yeah.
high necromancer? Like,
Yeah.
and so like it just diminishes the severity of these characters, you know?
Yes, because I even said that in my part one, but it gets sustained as throughout the book, where I feel like everybody just wants to die because they hate Helena or love Helena or like there's no self preservation in any of these characters, and then it comes at the expense of the tone, as you mentioned.
Mm.
Why the fuck, if you're like, let's go with Lancaster's motivation, which is I'm so obsessed with you, I want to kidnap you and make you mine and subjugate you, I guess. I don't fucking know. Aren't you not afraid what Muro will do to you, or the high, by extension, the High Reeve, who, if he were
Mm-hmm.
properly set up, should have been a big horror and people are afraid of? Like, aren't you afraid what
Mm-hmm.
Muro's second in command would do to you? Because he's not just gonna kill you; he's gonna probably gonna torture you or something. And then the same with Aurelia, who then, risks it all because she's so jealous. And the same with
Yeah.
frigging with what's his face? Atreus, Farron's father, risks it all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Atreus makes more sense because, it was set up that Farron was the only thing he had of the woman that he loved and he will do anything. And he's already dead, so what the fuck does he care? But
Like, Helena is in charge. Like, Farron is in charge of Helena.
mhm,
If his own, like, if he kills Helena, or like like, who do you think the high necromancer is gonna blame? Farron. So
yeah.
like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god. Anyway, that was like the modern. I want to get into the part two freaking mess.
Mm.
I have to say that the first few parts of part two, building the relationship between Farron and Helena, I was into it. I was like, ooh, I can't
Yes.
wait until,
Yes.
and especially that first kiss. Girl, I was feeling that first kiss because I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
get
Yeah, I think
together.
it started really, and I think I even like how the other characters were introduced as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Although it still felt really, really distant. Like
Mm-hmm.
Luke, we needed at least from Luke and Lila, we needed so much more.
Yeah.
Like we needed like a whole lot more of the
Mm-hmm.
relationship. But with Farron, I think it was the beginning of part two. Like it went pretty well, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah, because you're just waiting there because you know where it's heading, right? Like at this point, everybody
Hmm.
realizes that the main ship is the two of them, especially
Yeah.
after that fucking, for me, gut wrenching scene of him begging her not to die. I thought that was such an effective scene. You know, if it were built around, if the things around it were built up properly, oh my God, it would have hit. I think I would have cried there because it was just so sweet.
Ooh.
Yeah, because if it were, like, I'm telling you, what I envisioned at that point is that as Helena is progressively getting worse health wise, Farron just can't keep up the act anymore. He's just like, oh
Hmm.
shit. And then so we get just that hint, more hints of his tenderness, I guess, throughout her decline. And that where he begs her not to die would have been the culmination of that. If you set it up right, it would have been so fucking sad, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then we switch. I like it pacing wise that it then switches to the past. I like the structure of the book as it is. Like you got forgot everything, then we get the memories, then we get the resolution that never came. That it's not part three is so dumb, but anyway. And when focusing on Farron in part two is that you kind of know, given that the ending of part one, you kind of know where it's heading, and you're so excited to find out because it's like a little bit of a surprise to the reader that Farron is this gentle all of a sudden by the end of part one. So then you're super excited to find out what the fuck happened. Like, I thought he was evil.
Hmm.
What actually
Hmm.
happened, right? And I was expecting such a
Hmm.
nuanced take onto that, not this 180 shift of him suddenly being obsessed and this freaking sexathon in the middle of the book that nobody asked for. And if I were to write this book and keep the meanness of Farron, it would have been this slow easing into. It's such a thing about trust, slow
Yes,
trust.
confiding. I
Yes,
agree.
yeah,
Hmm.
and it would have been, you could have set that up that it escalates until to the point that Helena becomes irreplaceable to him because.
Hmm.
And then the whole freaking message to me of the book, what would it have been, is that we're all doing this for fucking nothing, you know? So and then they find the reason in each other for doing what they're doing, participating in this war.
Hmm.
That's where it would
Hmm.
have gone. That's Farron. That's not what happened. And then to go to the other characters, which is just the Eternal Flame and how insanely dumb they are, they're all so fucking stupid. I can't believe it. Sorry, I had a huge
Yes.
problem with their blind attachment, which I know is what the book is going for, that these people are blindly attached to
But after
religion.
6 years of war, after six
Yeah.
fucking years of war, we talked about it. Like this had to be just as the war started. The part
Yeah.
two needs to start like the war just sprung up. Like,
Yeah.
and we are still holding on to hope because
Yeah.
we still believe. Like, and like you said, like it wouldn't be enough time for them to change their beliefs and adapt,
Yeah.
and that's ultimately their
Wait, wait, wait,
downfall.
wait, wait, wait,
That would have
wait.
made sense.
Let me set this up so that the listener can follow. So we had a discussion
Go,
about
go, go,
this,
go.
and then the
Hmm.
discussion was how the Eternal Flame is so fucking dumb, and they're like, there is no reflection as to like this. I can fucking almost tell. Again, I'm reaching, but like the author doesn't understand how faith works and how it can appear as blind. An integral part of faith, especially during trying times, is doubt, and that wasn't frigging put in there anywhere. So we came up with this, dear
Hmm.
listeners. We said, given what we know, the frigging Murroch team is raising the dead, and they're not even using real soldiers. The moment that they find that out, the Eternal Flame, they're fucked. They're fucked. They're going to be outnumbered, and
Hmm.
if they send
Hmm.
people to war and they die, they're going to even be more outnumbered. They cannot win this war
Yeah.
realistically. So for me, it would have been a swift defeat. It wouldn't have been a 6-year fucking extension. And then these
Yeah.
characters who are still blindly faithful and so convinced that they will win, it would make sense because the defeat would have been so quick that they couldn't even adjust their belief system to it.
Hmm.
And that wasn't
Yeah, because
set up
like
at
I think,
all. Yeah.
yeah, like the author I think tried to do a whole thing where like they just need a miracle,
Yeah.
because in previous history, like, there was always a miracle. In the
Mm-hmm.
previous war there was a miracle, and then we learned that no, there wasn't a miracle.
Yeah.
It was actually engineered, and then, like, they wrote history to make the most sense for their faith.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learned that, oh, now, like, because Farron is the one creating these miracles, because we took the port again, yay, but
Mm-hmm.
actually that came from Farron. And now the faith, like, wants to kill Farron, so there is no trace back to where the miracle happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, that's kind of what they're trying to do, the authors, like, oh, look how faith is engineered,
Mm-hmm.
ooh. But, like,
So
also, I feel like it's so dumb, because, like, it's obvious, like, they cannot win. It's impossible
yeah.
to win. And I would understand, like, if, and they do have a little bit of this, but if it outside to maybe, like, people with lower ranks, they are
Mm-hmm.
making it seem like, yes, we're maintaining our purity or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But deep down they were like, yeah, we have necromancers, we have vivimancers, we have, like, all these people too, like, and we're just throwing there where no one sees. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, there was this whole, like, underground army. Like, sure, I would understand it if, like, they were just trying to keep it, like, secret.
Mm-hmm.
But not only Helena. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Helena was the only, like, Vivimentor that they had, which is, like, underground person. And, like, after 6 years of war, you're telling me she's the only healer you
Yeah.
have after six, and then only after this you're like, wait, I think we should have more healers.
Yeah.
Like, that makes no fucking sense.
Oh my
And also,
god,
like,
yeah.
all the time they have, like, an endless number of people,
Mm-hmm.
apparently, because, like, they're like, oh, everyone is dying, everyone's like, there's so many people dying, oh my god, we have so few people. And then, oh my god, we retook the port and we have enough people to maintain the port. And then, like, oh my god, but then more people died, and then even more people died, and so many people died, but we still have enough people to
Yeah,
launch
what's
a
happening?
counterattack. It's like, how many people do you have? Like,
Yeah,
what is
the
the
infinite
necromancy is happening now?
supply.
Yeah, so, like, I feel like they tried to do something here in the aspect, like, oh, faith is engineered,
Mm-hmm.
and this blind faith is gonna be their downfall.
Mm-hmm.
But after 6 years, it becomes, like, hard to believe, because, like,
Yeah.
everyone tells Helena, like, oh, you can't, like, corrupt yourself. You can't use necromancy, because we just need one moment of, like, showing our face to make sure that the miracle will come.
Yeah.
We just need to stick like this for a little longer, and the miracle will come. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way we can lose, because we have the blessing of the light
Of
or whatever. Like, after so many years, how does anyone believe that still? Like, that's
yeah.
what doesn't make sense. And the
Like
first that so, like, yeah, it has to be, like, still the first year of war. That's where, like, everyone gets, like, a
shit,
hard reality shock.
and it would do wonders to the tension. But let's say, freaking, they want it to be a war of attrition. Let's say they did level the playing field a little bit or something, right? Which
Hmm.
would only because it's a war of attrition at this point. I feel like, it's not an active. Which after 6 years of warfare, I think is fair to try to portray it that way. Where was I going with this? If it were six on the faith aspect, right? There would be doubters. There would be there. I keep on saying this. There would have been some fucking doubt in the group, in the
Yeah.
pop, in and I don't understand how,
People would not hold on out to fate like this long.
or
Like,
they would
it makes it
find,
sound like Helena is the only one who doesn't believe it, which is does not make sense at all.
yeah, no, they would find like workarounds where they start being hypocritical about things.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes,
they
like,
would be
that's
like,
basically the Catholicism.
yeah, they would be like, maybe Soul gave us these Vivimancers for a reason, Maybe he's trying to tell us something, and then all of a sudden, they're back. Oh, maybe we should raise the dead because it would be honorable for them. It's okay to raise the dead as long as they're fighting for the right side. There's so many complex questions
Yeah.
that could have been about faith, about the inherent hypocrisy of faith. Sometimes, I
Yeah.
guess, I don't want to like offend anybody, but like, there's so many fucking juicy ass fucking questions, but instead they're reduced to this blind horde of people who just believe because of tradition.
Yes.
Like, do you understand how
And
people
only
work?
Farron and only Farron and Helena see
They're
the
lying.
way things truly
And it's the
are.
most
That's it. Like,
asinine fucking message. I swear to God, like, I think what the author was going for is like, history is written by the victors. That is the
yeah.
message of this book, which I feel like is such a freaking elementary thought about history. It's like what you teach 12-year-olds about history, which is, so annoying
And
because
especially considering all the things that were present in this book that could have been developed and
yeah,
could have been like with just minor tweaks, you could have made the message like so much harder, so much broader, so much more in depth.
yeah,
Like there was a lot that could have been done here, but then like we reduce it to its like shallowest
yeah,
spots, I feel like.
yeah, because every single character is meant to illustrate that message, right? But but it's so undercooked because that is I think that's still a worthy message, but you could like flesh it out. I don't know, like for example, unsung heroes of the war, which is what Helen and Farron turn out to be, I guess. The things we do to like survive. One more thing. What was it? The gap between or like responsibility or something. Like there's so many things that you could say history is only written by the victors. Could have been the
Hmm.
final little icing on top onto what war actually is. Because I think that's what this book is trying to portray, right? How war affects people and all
Hmm.
that. And that is such a freaking multifaceted thing to address. And the book just chose to address that, okay, everybody is actually shit. And this main pairing, they see how it really is. They're the ones who are only smart. They're the only characters that are smart enough to understand how war works and how it affects people. There's no
Yeah.
interconnect. Like every single fucking Eternal Flame character is stupid. They're
Hmm.
on a cognitive level. Crowther's kind of dumb. I think Ilva is kind of dumb. Luke, let's not even talk about Luke because he's like IQ 70. Lila too. God, who else? There's so many. Soren, who ended up dying. The thing is, how do you like? I don't think the author actually invested thought on how a symbol, a war symbol, happens and what emotions are
Hmm.
at play when somebody becomes a war symbol. You know, of course, there's the fact that he's a holdfast and they were like a historically adored family. I guess I don't fucking know, but Luke has done
Hmm.
nothing but be a Disney Channel version of a warrior, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like what about him exactly is lovable? And also, it threw me for a loop. I don't know if you had this too when you first read about how Helena thinks about Luke. I thought they were romantically linked. I, th-
I already knew that like it wasn't supposed to be that way, so I the thought didn't even cross my mind.
really?
But I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, because it's like I love Luke so much, and during this, I stopped him from killing himself, and in that flashback in
Which
part one,
also barely brushed on, like right, like
the
that was so
suicidality.
like
Oh my god.
yeah. I honestly I wish it was actually done.
Yeah.
You know, like that. I wish like maybe the church is doing something like underground, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
religion is doing something like which he considers a betrayal of their
Mm.
values and everything. And he realizes that everyone is just keeping things from him because they consider him stupid, and he actually like kills himself or something like that. Because the way he
Yeah.
died, I
It
think
was
it was
so dumb.
so dumb, so
Oh
so so
god.
fucking dumb.
That fucking plot
Oh
reveal with Cetus, you know what's so funny? In my deep dive video, I said, like, I'm not even gonna recount Cetus because what's the fucking point? Like, it feels so random. And then it's the one thing that I skipped that becomes so
yeah,
plot relevant. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It's just a testament
yeah.
of, like, not set up properly.
Like the foreshadowing was so dumb. It was so dumb
Yeah.
because like you don't need to foreshadow that there is exist a guy named Cetus. You need to foreshadow that like there is possibly like
Mm-hmm.
a rift in the Holdfast family. You need to foreshadow that like maybe like the Holdfast are hiding
Mm-hmm.
something. Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing that you need to foreshadow for this sort of reveal. Not that like oh there's a guy named Cetus once upon a time, but we're not sure if he really existed or not. Cetus is Moro. Oh my god, who's the brother of blah, 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 like bruh?
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works.
You know, like Luke getting caught, I think is such a good plot point that you can work a lot because that's what happened, right? He got caught,
Hmm.
Murroch implanted himself into Luke, and Luke is battling him towards the end of the book out of his consciousness, but it's too
Hmm.
late, and Helena has to kill him. Or did he kill himself? I don't know. He just dies. And it's like such the most driest fucking death scene of a major character where I'm just
Yeah,
like,
and
okay, cool.
at least make him be like, if I kill myself, at least I'm killing like a part of Moreau. Like make it more like, if you're gonna have like the whole Horcrux thing, then at
Mm-hmm.
least make it like more meaningful. You know, like, oh, he is inside of me,
Uh-huh.
and if you try to kill him while I'm alive, he's not truly gonna die. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna off myself.
Yeah.
Bye. You know, like at least make it
Oh,
that like
I
it's
just
more
had
impactful.
a flash of
Mm.
an idea with your plot point, how you could
Uh,
make it hit. Is that the moment that arrives that he, like, there's an agency because he's portrayed as this flawlessly good character, right? And then the moment
mhm.
he realizes, no, I have to kill myself for this not to be a problem. And then so he's trying to be brave. And in the last moment that he wants to kill himself, there's a semblance of, I don't want to die. Oh,
Mm.
that would have hurt. That would have hurt. Where it's just this kid. It's just this kid who has to lead a fucking war effort.
Exactly.
His father just died. All his friends are dying around him. And he just wants to be a kid again. Oh, it would have hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And
Oh
like it
my.
would have hurt for Helena. Like I could have like, or maybe she just doesn't even know why he killed himself at first,
Mm,
and then only later she realizes like, oh shit, he had a piece of Muro guy inside of him, and that's how we can kill Muro. Like, but no, like him
yeah.
being Sita's
Did nothing.
been nothing at all. Does not affect the plot in any
Yeah.
shape or form. Like
Yeah.
if she known like, oh wait, Luke, this piece of Luke is because Sita's, and now that I know that
Mm-hmm.
thanks to Luke and what he did, now I know how to defeat
Yeah.
Edith Moreau, whatever. Then it would be relevant. But no, it's like it's completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's like why did this plot exist? Not for no reason whatsoever.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm getting like goosebumps with my own
That's
idea.
yeah.
I swear to God. Where because
Right?
it would have hurt so bad if it were done like and it's an insanely plot relevant. You just realize the weight of the sacrifice he did. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you would have realized the weight of it with Helena, and Helena. It's just like this impossible situation of like there was no other way other than this way. He had to do it, but I
Mm-hmm.
just fucking miss him or something like that.
Yeah.
You
Like
know?
that's tragic. That's where the
Yeah.
tragicness it comes from,
Oh
like
my fucking god. And it
of
wasn't.
this impossible decisions.
Yeah,
But
and
like that's what annoys me. Like when there's so much potential, like there's so many things that could have been
mhm.
done, just tweaked a little bit, not even like completely
Yeah.
demolished, and then we didn't get
Like
any of it.
so many times in this book I was reading what's supposed to be an emotionally heavy setting scene that's usually delivered through a monologue, which I hate,
Mm-hmm.
but and then I'm reading it and I'm like, I see it. There's like a little stirring within me with sadness.
Uh-huh.
But it's like not breaking through the surface because it's just so fucking pacing wise, prose wise, every fucking thing that you could, I'm gonna sound really harsh, but you could do wrong has been done wrong for this moment to land.
Mm-hmm.
There's no setup.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a random plot reveal. The emotionality is either too shallow or not followable at all because it doesn't delve into it. All this shit. Like this book could have been
Mm-hmm.
about a series of impossible like decisions and sacrifice, right? That's what this
Mm-hmm.
book
Mm-hmm.
wants to be. It's about sacrificing more and more of yourself for an effort that actually you don't give a shit about anymore. It has to have this feeling of why are we fighting? Let's just make up, But you can't because it's a war. And
I waited for so long for Helena to like one of the times that she goes visit Foreign on
mhm,
sorry Martyr Day or whatever is
yeah.
whatever it was called, but I was so waiting for her to be like, I don't think I can do this anymore, like, and
Yes.
for her to have like a talk with him being like,
Yeah.
I'm so tired, like
Yeah.
I just want to stop, I can't do this anymore, and then they like relating to each other and he's like,
Yeah.
and then like he's the one who constantly says like, why are you doing this, like you're so
Hmm.
dumb, and then him being like, you have to keep going, like
Yeah.
you have to keep going,
Oh, the pain.
like that would have been
The
like so that would have been
pain.
so good, like
Yeah.
the connection, like confiding in each other and him be like,
Yeah.
I can't give up, because he knows that if she gives up, like she's just gonna maybe like kill herself or something, and he's like, no, like do it for look for whatever, like
You
seeing the
have to
things that
keep fighting. Hang in there. Hold on. That vibe.
yeah, like
Oh,
just anything, but like I don't know,
no.
there's so much that could have been there,
Yes.
like
That's just,
I
this
think
is
that's the main issue.
the tragedy that never was. This is the theme of this book. Which, let's move on to
Then
part
part three,
part three.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Because what the fuck was that resolution? Oh my god.
Yeah,
It pissed
yeah.
throughout part three. 3. I mean, I told you this. I was expecting a huge confrontation with Muro, a huge one,
Mm.
where he shows up. I don't know, he knows what's up. I don't know. He's so super suspicious of Farron now because they're killing everybody. He's
Mm-hmm.
whittled down the
Mm-hmm.
suspects, and then he didn't want to accept that it's his most loyal follower or something. So he shows up at their house, and there's this huge showdown that they barely make out alive. He doesn't have to die there, mind you. Farron doesn't have to die
Mm-hmm.
there, but they barely make it out alive. And then you can still give the death to Lila because she deserves it, I guess. But there was none. Murrow is not ever mentioned in part 3. The person that you've been setting up as the big bad guy has his conclusion off screen. Are you fucking kidding me? And then, not to mention that,
Yeah.
like the whole, I understand the climax was set up to be that she removes the immortality from Farron. Fine, okay, that works. I still needed the confrontation with Murrow. So when that got resolved and then they started fleeing right on that freaking chimera thing, I was fully
Mm-hmm.
expecting for them to be caught because I was so fucking expecting Murrow to show up again. It doesn't happen. And then I felt like the ending was so drawn out. What was it, like 5 chapters or something of them just
Mm-hmm.
traveling, then settling
Fleeing the
in,
island.
and then the kids grow
Mm-hmm.
up, and then I'm like, why am I witnessing the aftermath now? Like I
Yeah, okay.
didn't.
Let me address
Okay,
something
go
because I know
ahead.
people are going to say, but that's the whole point because actually
Okay.
the war is not the point. The center is Farron and Helena and their relationship
Uh,
and how la 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 la.
okay,
Okay,
go.
no. Sure, maybe that was not what the point of the book was centered around, but still that makes for poor storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Um like it's just you could have all of that. Like you could have the
Yeah.
ending with them like okay, we can finally breathe. But with at least like the whole Ivy thing, like she's the one who gets
Yeah, that was
the
so cheap.
arm from Moreau because like, oh, actually it was my brother because no one pay attention to necrothralls, like being like, oh, people don't pay attention to servants or something like that. Like, wow, deep message. Like, oh please.
Oh my god.
That was so dumb. Like at least have them like do some sort of heist to get the or like Moreau shows up and like this is their opportunity then to take
Mm-hmm.
the phylactery or whatever that thing is called. I already
Mm-hmm.
don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then like that's how like they barely escape. That's
Mm-hmm.
all you needed. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a huge like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like confrontation and they defeat the war, yay, super powerful. But
Mm-hmm.
because I think sort of the same thing happens in again Hunger Games where Katniss is not the one that like finishes everything, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
she's fighting, she
Mm-hmm.
is trying to like infiltrate the house of the guy that mentioned, and then
Mm-hmm.
like everything blows up, and then when she wakes up, everything is like, yay, we capture her, and it's over. And people got mad that like she wasn't the one that that
Yeah.
was that participated, but she is the one who took down the institution itself when she kills Coin. Like
Mm-hmm.
so like it doesn't have to be like the conclusion of the main wow super powerful rebellion boom boom
Mm-hmm.
boom things exploding, but like it's still like we need our main character to still be active in some way in
Yeah.
the end,
Yeah,
you know.
you're
And
right.
you cannot try to tell me that like oh no but she took it down by taking down the thing inside Pharaoh. No, shut up. Like that's not no, that doesn't work.
No, it feels like there should have been a step after it. I don't know. It doesn't have to be a big boss battle with Muro for all I care. But I felt like after Farron was de-immortalized, I was like, there's still something coming. This is not the end. This is not the climax of the book. Don't tell me this is the climax. There's still, it doesn't feel resolved, right? So it could not have,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that she's so massive because even in Hunger Games, from what my limited memory, I read that when I was like really young. I remember it still being poignant that it wasn't Katniss who killed the big bad. That felt like it was
Hmm.
poignant, that it had a point. That was the message. With this one, the message is left in the air, which could have been the
Yeah.
point too.
Yeah.
But if that were the point, then why the fuck did we get 5 fucking chapters? After, like, imagine this, okay? Because I feel like the entire finding Lila again, settling in Etras, the kids growing up, all that, you could have cut that because it doesn't add to the story, right? It really doesn't add anything plot wise or whatever. It doesn't resolve anything, in
Hmm.
my opinion. And if that were the point, if you like, so but the point I'm trying to make is if the point is that you have to imagine that that part of them fleeing and being in Etras was cut, and then the story just ended at Farron being de-immortalized, because that's where the story ends. Everything else is a denouement.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be satisfying? No, because
Yeah.
so many things are not fucking resolved. And then they get resolved
Yeah.
later on in the very end, where we find out Lila went back to, after how many years, went back to Palladia to kill Moreau, who was at that point really already really weak. But it's such an offhand thing to resolve one of the biggest issues of the book is the war. So forgive me for wanting to know how that war ends, like, and then for you to just
Yeah.
do it in like this fashion of the way it was done. It just felt so fucking unsatisfying. Oh God, such a waste. Such a waste that
Yeah. And again, it only works if the
mhm,
plot is the romance.
the
I wouldn't
plot.
even say that it worked, but like the whole plot is
Mm,
just the romance. Like
mhm,
we see how the romance ends, which is happily ever after. We like meaning that the whole
mhm.
war, everything that happens is just like salad dressing.
Yeah.
Like it, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of the book, who's
Yeah.
trying to be deeper. I
Yeah.
know you're trying to be deeper and you're
Yeah.
trying to give me messages and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and not just be a romance book. So
Yeah.
why then is the only conclusion we get the conclusion of the romance?
Yeah.
Like, like it doesn't make like you're being contradicting. Either you give me just the romance and
Yeah.
like okay, the war is like basic salad dressing, which is like any other romantasy book, or
Mhm.
you try to tell me that you are a dark fantasy and who
Mhm.
approaches so many themes, whatever, and then you give me the conclusion of those deep dark themes.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. We just have a conclusion for the romance, where
Yeah.
she's like, Farron, you needed to connect. You cannot be closed. You cannot
Mhm.
be like your father. Connect to this child. And he's like,
Mhm.
okay, I guess. And then she's like, the end. And now we are still, we hurt, we suffer,
Mhm.
but we're okay, kind of.
It's just
But
a
like
flesh
that,
wound kind of suffering for me as
yeah,
a reader.
not even that
Like,
is like a teeny tiny paper cut.
yeah, it's like a freaking paper cut of suffering. Like, I'm not saying that I didn't feel sad by the time I read that entry in that encyclopedia, but I was
Hmm.
not really saddened enough. I feel like it should have wrecked me. I
Not even
know.
sad. I think it's no impact, right?
Yeah,
Like
no.
because people don't need to feel sad, but like it has to impact you in some way.
Yeah.
And like, but there is no conclusion to impact me. Like, yeah.
It's like it was so. There's something I hate to say this, but and I can't because I don't really read fan fiction like that. But it just reads to me like that, where because you write it over such an extended period of time, you lose track. It's so
Mm,
unfocused. The emotionality doesn't land, and it even had traits of like fixing plot holes later in the book because I assume there was a comment left in there. Why doesn't Helena do this? Why doesn't this happen? And then, so it's more like
mm,
writing on the fly. So if you do it that way,
hmm.
if you don't have like an overarching, I wouldn't even say plan, but theme, it will read as muddy as it is now. And if I were to think about how to fix this, like we're already talking about this for almost, I don't know, 1 hour and 40 minutes,
Hmm.
but if I were to try to fix or try to eliminate that essence of fan fiction where it requires attachment, where it's kind of muddy because you write every week or every month, I don't know, it's serially over an extended period of time. The story evolves with the readers. That's how fan
Hmm.
fiction works in my head. I would like take a step back and just like dissect the main conflicts of this book and
Hmm.
just gear
Hmm.
every scene because this book has a lot of themes and a lot of conflicts. So I would
Yeah.
assume you would need somewhat of a plan where you're going, what you're setting up. There is this certain atmosphere in this prose where I don't think the author even knew what they were setting up. They just stumbled into it and they're like, "Oh, this is good." And it's somewhere in freaking page 780 in the book or something where it's just like, "Oh, I'm getting a whiff of another conflict." Especially with like the Farron obsessive thing. For me, I have a huge problem with that, Farron. I know you know this, but I have a huge fucking problem with this. All of a sudden, he's portrayed as this obsessive guy, and I just know it's meant to cater to
Yeah.
like a certain kind of reader that will buy that in an instant. That they would be like, oh yeah, and he's super protective of her, and I will burn he has, what did you say,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
burn the
Yeah.
world down for
To burn the
you.
word for you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, vibe. And I'm like, dude, I like that. as a concept, but set it up, because I didn't get that vibe from him at all in part one. And
Yeah.
even halfway through part two, I didn't get it. Just came out of nowhere. And for the love of
Mm-hmm.
God, please don't use "she's mine" seriously. For the
Yeah, say
love,
you're mine, say you're mine.
yeah, I
Yeah.
will. You're mine. I belong to you. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, what the fuck, in the middle of war? Can you imagine? Let's just like get a realistic fucking example in World War II or something. And then these random Nazi soldier is telling you, "You're mine." Like, what the fuck is this? It's just so dumb. It cheapens it so. Oh my, I feel like this story would have already massively improved if they removed that. The whole possessiveness thing. Remove that, and they removed the pregnancy or the Handmaid's Tale subplot.
Yes.
If they had removed
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
it,
That has no necessity to be there.
yeah.
And then give it focus, give more pages to things that actually matter. And also, I guess the whole criticism of this book, and I think we can summarize the last like 1.5 hours into there is no focus.
Yes.
Too many things, too many ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no like single thread that I
Yeah.
can follow and that like I can see like okay, this is core solid, and then
Mm-hmm.
there are little ramifications here and there. No, everything is a ramification. There's no like truly like core setting other than
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it just needs a focus, and it needs to do that cull some things that don't matter, like the Handmaid's Tale subplot.
Yeah.
It's completely useless. It
Yeah.
makes no fucking difference. There's
Yeah.
no commentary on it, like oh, women are being used.
Yeah.
Cool, next. Like the only thing is like at a little note at in the end of part three, where it's like oh, and no one is talking about it because it's too gruesome. The end. Like that's it. Like that's not a conclusion, that's not a
Yeah.
commentary on anything. So like cool
Yeah.
that, remove some of those things that are just like surface level, so
Yeah.
you can go deep into other things.
Yeah.
That's it. Like that's all that we need to say about this book, because
It's so
it is what
true.
it is. Like you need to remove some surface level stuff so you can go
Yeah.
deep in other stuff.
Yeah, the Handmaid's Tale subplot actually is you're right. It's so fucking useless, but it's so it weirdly enough wasn't set up properly. I know it's mentioned fairly early on that Stroud is working on something, but like the what I feel like, okay, because I'm connecting the fan fiction, how it could have been done is that if you have you watched Handmaid's Tale?
No, I know the general idea of
Yeah,
it,
it's really
but I
good.
haven't
Like
watched it.
it's very disturbing, but it's really good
I
because
hear.
at least the first three seasons, I think it kind of like fell off a little bit. But it's such fucking juicy women versus women conflict. It's so fucking juicy, realistic being a mother, being a woman. It's just so human given this preposterous
Mm-hmm.
setting, and the horrors in it land because you can envision yourself being treated that way. I mean, genuinely, whatever you can, like the main character there, June. I'm just gonna freely spoil this because it's been years, but
Mm-hmm.
June cheated on. June got together with a guy who cheated on his wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but it's like this genuine love for each other, I guess. And they have a kid, and the women there are selected to be handmaids if they had a kid before, because there's like there's like hard. It's difficult to get pregnant in that universe. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
this clash of like faith, like it's so good. Like I'm trying to describe this succinctly, where it's about people who are genuinely faithful to the Lord and whatever they believe in God and all that, but they do such evil, atrocious things in the name of faith, right? And every
Mm-hmm.
single character you're introduced to is like a facet of this conflict where June herself is not a believer, but the commander drops this fucking fire ass line that is quoted all everywhere. I feel like it's one of the famous ones where he says, because June starts building a semi-familiar, tense relationship with the commander, right? And by the way, you can also feel the active disgust she feels with what she's doing. But anyway, and then she asks the commander, "How is this good? Look at me. I'm suffering. I'm sure you can see me. You can see all the suffering you're inflicting on these women, the handmaid." And then that was such a good question because then the commander says, and he just looks at her sadly and says, "Better never means better for everyone." Oh, I love that scene
Mhm.
so much because even the commander has like this oh, this could have worked here too if you were capturing that. This conflict of his name is Fred, the commander. His main conflict is that he is not a man who is authoritative before. The one who pushed
Mhm.
this was his wife, Serena Joy. And so he is kind of grappling, or he's more in a very infantile but still adult way trying to establish his authority over his household. And Serena Joy, being a headstrong woman, that's such a juicy conflict, has put herself in this subjugating role willingly because she believes in it. And then she's like in a golden cage of her own making. And then you have June, who just doesn't want to be participating in this at all, obviously. And she's watching this and she's trying to navigate it. And then the resentment that Serena feels, I feel like, for her decision, for what she's done, unwilling to recognize that she did this to herself, is then off put on June. So she really abuses June. And I feel like that's what this book was going for with Aurelia, because it's a lot
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
women versus women in Handmaid's Tale. It's a very woman centered show, which I love. And it's just off put. And then I had a chat about this on the server with Ferret. I think Ferret said something along the lines of like a lot of stories that are inspired by something else, they don't actually understand what makes the story
Mhm.
it was inspired by good. They just pick out the most
Yeah.
juiciest, what they feel like intensest emotions, and then without the setup and the vibe, they put it in their story. So this is an example of that
Yeah.
with the Handmaid's Tale subplot. It doesn't fully
Mhm.
understand the source material, the solemnity, the dread, the tasty pain in that story. I feel like they just picked out the intense scenes in The Handmaid's Tale, which is the
Like women
ceremony.
being forced into pregnancy.
Yeah,
Boom. That's it.
yeah, the ceremony thing, the women hating women thing, and then put it in there, and then it's just there, as you said, it's just there. Nothing is done with it. They didn't
Mhm.
understand the vibe or what makes it good. I would say it's even the same with like I don't fucking know. I know you're not a huge fan of Martin, but I actually genuinely like Game of Thrones, where they have the cool fucking dragons in Game of Thrones, right? When it was still good.
Oh, I was
The
about to say like it's the same thing with Game of Thrones. People just throw like, oh, everyone dies.
Yeah,
This is so badass, just like Game of Thrones. It's like
yeah,
that. That's basically it.
that's not it. For me, what makes Game of Thrones, what really hooked me is the subversion of my expectation in season one, obviously, when Ned Stark gets beheaded.
Yeah.
I was just like, what the fuck? And the lesson of Ned Stark, that his this abrupt ending to him is that he's just virtuous to a fault. It bites him in the ass.
Hmm.
Excellent. And then just to get back into the dragons, this is my biggest problem with some fantasy things is that it's a fucking dragon. It's a fucking dragon. Are we not going to acknowledge that you lost? It's like a nuke in the war. You know, you,
Yeah.
you are defenseless. So the entry of Daenerys when she first arrived, you know, when Jaime Lannister looks up and he's like, "Oh my fucking god." Oh, that hits so juicily,
Hmm.
right? But I feel like
Hmm.
when viewers watch that and they don't analyze it, they think like, "Oh, dragons are cool," and then you have Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
Like, I never read Fourth
Basically,
Wing, by the way, but like I feel like that's what if I were to read it, that's what I think. It's like you thought the Game of Thrones thing was really cool with the
you
dragons.
should.
Should I read Fourth Wing? I hate fantasy, you know that. I was actually heavily debating reading Game of Thrones
Yeah.
because
This is the one that you're allowed to.
Game of Thrones,
Ooh.
or
Yeah, you could read that one too.
yeah, I was heavily debating getting into that because there's something about how Martin does political intrigue that I find this fascinating. Because you know what I'm looking for in historical fiction and fantasy, even in this one, right? Is that I don't want a history book account of things. I want to know what it's like to
Mm-hmm.
be in the court, the complex relationships that are in there.
Yeah.
And I
Mm-hmm.
want to know how they outmaneuver each other, and it's always a lot of between the lines. So Martin does that really well. I feel like
Have you
the
read anything by him?
I haven't read anything by him. I
Any of
only
his?
watched the show.
Okay.
But I don't know how his prose is
Eh,
like. Like for me, the most boring part is the fantasy. Like I don't
it,
give a shit about the White Walkers.
he has very smart prose,
Oh, you
but
mean
at the same
sassy?
time, he has like 5 pages talking about how
Oh,
a
fuck
wolf
me.
is eating a chicken. So like
Uh,
it is a lot. Like I think he's a great story creator.
Hmm.
Storyteller is
Another
more of
thing.
a questionable, I think. But prose, that's so funny to me because like he's really good prose level.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good at like building like developmental story level.
Mm-hmm.
But then like on the chapter
Execution.
by chapter, it often feels like dragging. So I would be
Overwritten.
really interested in how you feel reading it. I've read it twice
Oh
because I
God.
wanted to read the whole books. I read it once and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is too much. I'm not gonna continue. Then I'm like, no, but I should continue. However, I don't remember anything from the first book. I have to read it again. And then I
Mm-hmm.
read it again. I was like, no, I'm not gonna continue reading. So I go back and forth
I have the
between
audiobook
the whole thing.
because Lord help
Yeah,
me.
that's the way to go probably.
Yeah,
But also there are so many names. It's kind of confusing.
yeah, I will not do a deep dive on it because Lord help me if I do, but I think I'm gonna listen to it just to say I have. It's like what, something insane, like
Nice.
36 hours. You know, I have to say I'm slowly warming up to fantasy given this book because now I see what could be done that is good. And but I
Mm-hmm.
still maintain that the least interesting part for me in fantasy is the fantasy element, which is, you know, the magic and the dragons and all that, and then the world building. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
give a shit about that. It's like, that's just setting for me. What's really important is like, but what you're gonna do with it? What about the characters in it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, given this like really weird out there world, you know, this fantasy world. But what are the characters like? I'm still looking for something human in all of them, in all of
Mm-hmm.
them, where it, you know, the charm I would say is like you're witnessing history being made as it's being made. that would
Yeah.
that would be the charm for me for reading fantasy, I guess. So you're more an
Mm-hmm.
expert in the frigging how to create a fantasy world. I have no idea how that's done. But
I sincerely don't give a shit
yeah,
about world building. Like,
yeah.
that's the part I hate the most
Same.
about fantasy is like, I hate the most, but like, I don't care. Like, I
Yeah.
don't give a shit about the world. Like, I need to have something that is gonna make me care about the story, and that's gonna be the characters. Like, when I'm writing something new,
Mm-hmm.
it's only like, what is the premise and what are the characters gonna be like? That's the only thing I
Yeah.
care.
Same.
And then like the fantasy is just like sprinkles on top, you know, like it makes it
Yeah.
taste extra good for
Yeah.
me. But also like if it doesn't have fantasy elements, I find it kind of boring.
Yeah.
Like so because I feel like the nice thing about fantasy is that you can put people in the like the most like extraneous of
Yeah.
circumstances. You know,
True.
like
True. True.
everyday life is like basic.
Yeah, that's true.
But in fantasy, you can create like the most insane plot and like you can make your characters go through like unfathomable things.
Yeah.
And so like that's the fun for me in fantasy
Yeah.
and
True.
is like seeing what these people are gonna go through and how they're gonna react to
Yeah.
this like insane stuff. So that's why I'm like I'm a fantasy girly and I cannot read like contemporary like basic stuff
That's
because
true.
like
Like
but
I
what's
get
the fun
it.
in that?
Yeah, I get
Um
it. You can amp up the
so
tension and the stakes really well with fantasy and sci-fi.
yeah, yeah.
I get it.
So I think your issue with fantasy is more so that you probably like don't have like the best of fantasy out there. And
Hmm.
nowadays it can be hard to find like more character focused stuff.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah, but
I'm
there's some good stuff out there. I'll check my list of things that I've read and see if I can recommend you some more character
oh,
focused
that'd be
stuff.
fucking great. Like as I said, like if one thing, just as a concluding remark, because we're about to hit 2 hours, is like this book, what it has done for me
Yeah.
is that it's made me interested in fantasy, which is that's why 3.5
Mm.
stars is I feel like really fair because this is not a genre that I see a fantasy cover and already think it's super boring. If you start mentioning magical elements, I'm already like, oh my fucking god, shut up. Like, but now I see the frigging elements of like, so if you set that up, you can ramp up the tension, which this book doesn't do, by the way, but you can ramp up the tension so like the message hits so much harder than like what we can do in our real world, you know. And I'm also listening to
Mm-hmm.
Morning Glory Milking Farm, which is just tonally
Really?
yeah, the total opposite of
Nice.
this book, and I'm so fucking entertained. I'm quite surprised by how wholesome it is given the subject matter. But
Yeah.
that is also really good world building, you know. It doesn't go into the macro perspective, it just goes into the micro, what it means for this character who's this milk technician. And you know, I'm actually interested in listening about like what type of parties vampires are having in this multi-species city and all that. Like, so I want to say that the book at least got me a little bit curious about this genre. and maybe I can sharpen my tastes more. But I think I will start with Game of Thrones when I have the time.
Nice, nice.
So you're
There is
staying.
one as well that I think you
Mm-hmm,
might like, which
mm-hmm.
is the blade itself.
Oh,
It's
what's that?
like it's notoriously known, like people say like this is like amazing characters. The best characters
Mm-hmm,
are come from this book. And like if it's not as plot focused, and definitely like the fantasy and the magic stuff is like barely there. Like
mm-hmm. I like
it's
that.
very like it's pretty interesting. Like I think you might enjoy it quite a bit. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another option for you.
Yeah. Although, like, yeah, no, I am interested. I'm just like my ADHD is firing thoughts at random right now. Fucking hell. I wanted to like think about like would I pick something up from SenLinYu again?
Mm,
I think I would, honestly, because one thing that you cannot learn, I feel like, is one thing that comes intuitively is an intuition for good drama and conflict, because that's just
mm,
a taste matter. And I think SenLinYu has good imagination in this regard. And then everything we criticize at this point that can be learned. Does that make sense?
mm-hmm,
How to set a scene up, how to set
mm-hmm,
the conflict up, how to realize what the main focus of your book should be. That's something you can learn through a lot of writing. I feel like. I mean, I'm talking like I'm the most expert writer. I'm not, but but I feel like
mm-hmm,
that's something that you can, by reading more, by learning the craft more, you can improve on that. So I'm still I have faith in this author in particular to at some point publish something that will hit me emotionally,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, no, I never want to blacklist authors,
Mm-hmm.
and well, not because like, oh, I didn't like the first book, I'm never reading them again,
Yeah.
unless it's something, I don't know, atrocious. But I think here is definitely more a matter of like hitting the potential. But the potential is that like this is a rough diamond. I just
Mm-hmm.
wish it was a little bit more lapidated. Like it
Mm-hmm.
needed to be a little bit more polished and stuff like that. So, like, but however, at the same time, I feel like those books are the most frustrating to read because you're like, you're so
Yeah, I was
so
rooting for
close,
you.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's a definitely like we'll see. Like, I'm open to seeing like
Mm-hmm.
other stuff, and I
Mm-hmm.
do think there's potential there.
Mm-hmm. Same.
So we'll have to see.
Like I
We'll have to see
know,
what else
you know
we
what
could
I
put.
feel like she needs. I don't know. They need to um, be cognizant of is that they need to, in my opinion, get rid of fan fiction habits in their writing style and in their
Yeah,
scene
I think it
level.
doesn't help that they don't have like I think it didn't help them that this wasn't a original.
Yeah.
Like I think if they had started from the get-go as like a completely new idea that had nothing
Mm-hmm.
at all, I
Mm-hmm.
think it would have definitely been like
Mm-hmm.
a better book.
Mm-hmm.
Not being
Oh.
so shoehorned. So like I'm intrigued to see like how do they come up with a new idea,
Mm-hmm.
and what is it going to be like that is entirely original, like,
Yes.
and it's not shackled by like
Yeah.
what fit in that specific mold
Or
of fan fiction.
or even I feel like this she's mine thing, which I know I harp on about, is such a fan fiction thing to do. Like because you're only in that community of authors and readers and you grow to know what they expect. I'm not an expert as I said, but I feel like it's almost a thing of fan fiction to have this obsessive she's mine and also having
Mm,
preposterously evil characters or preposterously good characters and where you are free to ditch the main antagonist for the romance, that because there are no rules in fan fiction to storytelling, so you can just write whatever you want to write
mm-hmm,
without like,
mm-hmm,
and for the most part, from my understanding, readers will be on board with it. They're going to be like, oh yeah, cool.
yeah,
So
mm-hmm,
it's not so. I wouldn't even say books are rigorous. Surely less rigorous than screenplays, for example. But fan fiction is a step less rigorous than what I would
mm-hmm,
say is
mm-hmm.
a well thought out, well rounded book. And that's what I mean that you kind of have to readjust, or I feel like, as a frigging novice author myself, that you kind of have to readjust your imagination a little bit, how you think about
Yeah,
how to make a
yeah,
story. And that can
Yeah, I feel
only,
like in a
yeah,
way, like,
go ahead.
sorry, continue.
No, no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if I were to make an analogy, I would say like writing a fan fiction is kind of uh like riding a with training wheels, almost
Yes.
like a bicycle. Not like it inherently, unless you're changing like everything,
Mm-hmm.
it's like making it completely AU.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's still like you have like so many things that you can rely upon, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that it,
Mm-hmm.
it can be like a pretty good starting point.
Mm-hmm.
But then like writing something completely original, like you have to build on so much more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The backstory for the characters, you have to make your readers care about your
Mm-hmm.
characters, and that's the hardest thing
Yeah.
to do, like right after coming from fanfic. So I do think like it requires like a little bit more work in
Mm-hmm.
some regards that
Mm-hmm.
you inherently don't have to do in fan fiction. So yeah.
Yeah, because the biggest advantage in fan fiction is that you don't have to worry so much about getting reader attachment to your characters because the readers that will come to your fan fiction are already attached to the characters, so you can play around more with
Hmm.
the plot. And I
Yeah.
have to say that even this book, it plays around too much so that it becomes muddy in the end. Like I would
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
maybe be less. I would have been more forgiving for the lack of setup if it had been narratively more focused. Anyway, it's still good
Hmm.
practice. Like any writing is good practice, and I have hopes for this author. I think
Yeah.
that they have a good imagination for like to set up drama. That's just something that is
Hmm.
you cannot train. At least it's the type of drama in my freaking projection, right? This is all speculation. It's a type of drama that I know will hit me because not all drama
Hmm.
hits me. It's the type of drama that would be emotionally devastating. I think they have a good imagination for that. So I'm excited to see what they're
Yeah.
gonna publish after this, and once they, you know, improve as you do when you write something.
Yeah, this is like, even though they had already written like a gigantic
Yeah,
like
more than that. Yeah,
300 words and how many more, it's still a debut. Like
yeah.
in the terms of original work and original like traditional format of a book, this is a
Mm-hmm.
debut. It's the first book, so like it definitely like has its shortcomings. It's not terrible by any means. It's
Mm-hmm.
just it needed a little bit more, but
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. There's
yeah,
potential. There's definitely potential.
yeah. I think that's it, isn't it? Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to discuss this book with me. We could
No
do,
problem. It was actually super fun.
yeah, God, we could go on for 5 hours. I just know it.
Yeah, like I love like discussing. I actually miss like being able to do like a lot of discussing like that, like going in depth on
Yeah,
something. Because like usually the books I read, like with Ezra at least, like we are just like ranting about
yeah,
stuff, and it's fun as well in its way. But I also like to go like deep down, like, oh, let's analyze every corner of
yeah,
this a slightly more serious book.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Same, same, same.
it's super fun.
All right. I think we can end here. Um, thank
Okay.
you guys for listening. If you have listened to this point, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
I Yeah. Bye bye.